So the learning circle, the circle that is on your screen is the brain. And you may or may not know this, but there's a little learning closet in your brain. We'll get back to that in a minute. But we're all taking information in all the time. And this is input, okay? So think about for a minute, how are you inputting information right now into your brain? Don't make this hard, okay? How are you getting information? And one of the ways you're getting it is you're seeing. Unless you have, closed your eyes or you do not have sight, you are seeing what's on the screen, okay? Another way is that you're hearing. You're hearing what I'm having to say. Again, for most of you, if you're not, then hopefully you're seeing double through the closed captioning. Another way, you're not doing it right now, but oftentimes we can input through touch. Oh, that's hot. That's soft. That's pointed. It hurts. So touch is one of the way that we get information into our brain. We smell. Don't ever underestimate the importance of smell. Think about how often you smell something and then you're hungry. It's because you input it like, oh, that smells good. Doing. And you might be thinking, yeah, but Sarah, do I use all these in my classroom? Well, seeing and hearing, absolutely. You're going to have some students who really like touch, so make sure that you have some tactile opportunities for them. Even in distance remote learning, we can still provide ways to have them touch and feel. Smell, maybe not so much from a distance, but having a good environment to learn in does make a difference. So doing. Oftentimes, students really learn and get a lot of information from trying something out, an experiment, working through a problem. And the last thing is feel, and I'm calling that something different than touch. Feel meaning the emotions. Think about the best day of your life, whatever you call the best day of your life. And I'm serious, bring it up right now, think about it. Think about everything that you remember about that day, right? So you can probably remember like maybe even what you were wearing, what the weather was like, who you were with, what you felt like, maybe even what you ate that day. Why? Because it was emotionally charged in a good way. Now, unfortunately, that's also true of bad days of your life. But if I asked you, what did you have for lunch last week on Tuesday? Unless it was a special day, you're probably not going to remember because it was not emotionally charged. So once again, this is application for our classrooms, right? We want to think about, are we giving multiple means of representation, which is another part of UDL, which I'll get to a slide on that in just a minute, but are we providing information in a variety of ways? And are we giving them that engaging, uplifting feeling that helps them to remember and to pull up that information later on another time. That's why I wanted you to enjoy and hopefully laugh in this training, because it's really important. It's part of learning. Okay, so that's input. That's how we get information into our brain. And inside our brain, there's processing. In that gray matter, there's processing going on. So let me share that is in our screen. It's the little closet. And let me pull up some annotation here. Here you have some hangers. That's when information is coming in. See how those arrows are coming in? We have those little hangers, and that's our short-term memory. And so that information hangs there for just a short period of time. And if we don't rehearse it and do something with it, most of the things that come in, inputted, fall right down into this trash can in our brain. So most of what we take in, it's gone. That's why when you are somewhere and you meet somebody new and they tell you their name, if you don't rehearse it, a lot of times it goes in the trash, and then later you're going, oh man, I don't remember that person's name. Oh, phooey, I wish I'd paid attention. But one of the things we can do if we rehearse it, if we have multiple times of meeting up with that person, if we know that person, then we may put the item up here in a box. It's no longer just precariously hanging on a hanger. We've put it up in a box. That's our long-term memory. Now here's the deal, that sometimes we put things up in the box and it's hard to find because maybe we mislabeled it. Maybe it's in there, but we're not able to find it. This technically is what happens with someone with an actual learning disability, is that the way that they process the information is a little bit different. And so it's in there, but being able to pull it out may be difficult for them. And sometimes that happens for each of us as also. So we can kind of relate to that. So we want to make sure the more ways that we input information and the more ways that we rehearse information, the better chance that we're going to have of effectively being able to output. So that brings us to our next part. You see at the bottom of the screen, output. You see the color? I told you I liked color. So how do you have your students output? Okay, we've got the arrows going out. Again, don't make this hard. Think about, what do you have your students do to output? You may have them tell you. You ask a question, they answer it, right? You may have them write it. Either write an essay, take a test, they may chat with you if you're virtual. There's lots of ways that your students are giving you the output. There's also some more, probably a little more creative ways. You might have them sing it or rap it, or you might have them act it out. I love, love, love role plays. Maybe they're gonna make a video for you and show you that they know what you need them to know. Maybe they're going to draw it or do a demonstration or make a diorama. There's all kinds of ways that our students can output. So we've talked about multiple means of representation, which is how we represent information, but we also need to give multiple means of action and expression. Those are the outputs, the ways that our students can show us that they know what we need them to know to have success. So that would mean instead of just climbing a tree, they also can swim or they can run, going back to our little cartoon. The last thing I'm going to tell you about the learning circle before we move on is there's two other things we need to keep in mind when we have our learners. One is attention. If we don't have our students' attention, they cannot learn. So if we're talking for too long, or don't make it engaging, or don't make them cock their head and think about it in a new way, then we have lost them and we are not going to be able to teach them. Also, environment. If our students are too hot, too cold, too scared, too tired, too stressed, they're not going to be able to learn. So we need to really think about our learning environment and thinking about how we're engaging with our students and how we're representing information. Which brings us to